from the psych ward! And this is mostly to, like, normalize it, because, let's be fucking honest, for a lot of kids, especially kids in, like, low-income families, the psych ward's kind of, like, the place you can go to get started with, like, treatment and medicine. At least that's why me and a lot of other fucking kids used it for. Anyway, picture me, 12 years old, sitting in the lobby. They were debating whether or not to put me on the kids' side or to put me on the teenager side because I actually had my 13th birthday in the psych ward. So as the doctor was talking to my mom, all of a sudden I hear this wretched screech through the hall. A thunderous roar of feet, and all I see is this boy in a bright purple jacket jump up like a goddamn NBA player and grab onto the fucking chandelier. He's incoherently screaming, going like back and forth like fucking Tarzan through the goddamn jungle. There's nurses and security under him trying to catch his dumbass in case he falls. And he fell right on top of this little nurse. And once I got processed, I was put into the teenagers ward, and I met him, and we became friends. Tales from the psych ward, because y'all seem to like this, and I think it's good to normalize it. So what do you get when you put a bunch of unstable teenagers into a small place? Fighting. Lots of infighting. And this is the story of how one bitch got taken down a peg. We'll call the bitch princess because she acted like a princess, even though she was trailer park trash. She was a terrible human being. Anyway, Princess had a bad habit of, when hearing other people's trauma, making fun of them for it. Even though if someone talked shit about what she went through, she'd lose her mind. So there was a bigger girl in our group, who I'm gonna nickname Betty because she had the cute little Betty bangs. She was one day discussing her trauma, and pretty much she overate to cope. Princess thought it was funny and started to pick on her. Betty calmly got up and smacked her unconscious. The bitch went limp in a chair. Betty went to solitary for the next 24 hours and said it was worth it. Tales from the psych ward. I'm bringing it back. So, I had my 13th birthday in the ward. And it was actually one of the reasons that I got into the teen side, because my birthday was gonna happen, you know, while I was in there. And yeah, the place I went to had a separation of children and teen wings. But anyway, for my I can't say that word apparently. But anyway, for my birthday, my grandma came and she brought me a bag boombox. I don't know if y'all remember these, the bags that like could play music through them. I think they're still around. And because it was my birthday, I was allowed to have my iPod Nano. I want you to imagine a gaggle of mentally ill young adults screaming at the top of their lungs, "Let's start a riot," while icing covers their fingers as they're rhythmically bouncing up and down, frightening the nurses. Tales from the psych ward. There's talks of transphobia and homophobia in this. Trigger warning just in case. So I've never really talked about it on here, but plushies and dolls are my biggest comfort items, and I've had this little guy since I was 11. He's actually a knight in shining armor doll, however, I lost his knight outfit, and I just put him in the princess dress, and I've kept him in it ever since. When I went to the psych ward, though, my therapist read really deep into this and started asking if I felt like a knight in shining armor trapped in princess clothes. And I was like, no, I just lost his outfit. To which she said that I needed to start accepting my transness. Which confused me because there was actual trans people in our ward that she didn't respect the pronouns of. When I brought that up to her, she said, well, they can't be real trans people. And when I asked her what made me any fucking different, she said, well, I can see that you could be a guy. You have broad shoulders and a deeper voice, and you like women. Which there is a lot to unpack there, but we're just gonna throw away the whole fucking suitcase. So she started using he, him pronouns towards me and started to try to convince the other employees to do the same. Which resulted in me and the other patients deciding to use the wrong pronouns for all of them. And before any Virginian asks, yes, it was Snowden. Tales from the psych ward. Kind of fits that I'm dressed as Debbie right now because this one is a doozy. To preface this, I was one of those girls that always hung out with guys when I was a little kid. I don't know why, that's just kind of how it happened. I had a lot of guy friends growing up. And because of that, I never really experienced a guy ever having a crush on me because I was normally seen as one of the dudes. And to be honest, I didn't mind because girls were prettier. In the psych ward was my first time dealing with a guy that had a crush on me. Didn't help that he was a fucking creep. He'd follow me around the ward all the time and try to sit next to me and say weird fucked up shit like, have you ever had a man treat you right? And me being like 12 years old going on 13, I'd be like, I don't know what that fucking means. Anyway, thankfully, Betty and Purple Jacket Kid that swung from the chandelier protected me. They'd mostly block this dude and make sure that I was never left alone with him in a room. Because security and nurses were lacking. Anyway, he got discharged a few days before us and we found out why he was in there. Turns out he had confessed to a girl who rejected him, and she loved animals, so he went out, killed some animals, and stuffed them in her fucking locker. Tales from the psych ward.
This is actually a very wholesome story, so enjoy. So I've been in the psych ward twice. The first time when I was 13, and then the second time when I was 15. The second time I went in, apparently there had been budget cuts, so they had to combine the children and teenagers ward, which was not fucking smart. Anyway, I was like the third oldest person there. Anyway, there was this one kid who was around 7 years old. He was a really curious kid, and once I found out why he was there, I was like, oh, honey. But anyway, my favorite thing has always been to craft stuff, and in the psych ward, I had a big thing for making paper dolls. Mostly because it was one of the few things I could, fucking do. Like, I had to be monitored with, like, the safety scissors, but, like, I had glue and paper. He would always watch me make paper dolls, and I made little versions of him and every single other person in the ward. And I used to teach him how to make them. And when I went to leave, he gave me one of me.